Thank you, Presiding Officer. At the time the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital was opened, Nicola Sturgeon was the First Minister, John Swinney was the Deputy First Minister and Finance Secretary who signed the cheques, and Shona Robeson was the Health Secretary. We now know that the hospital was opened too early and when it was not ready, with devastating consequences, including avoidable infections and deaths. Political pressure was applied to open that hospital. Why did SNP ministers put politics before patient safety?
First Minister.
That was not the case, and the reference for that is what the Counsel to the Inquiry said on the 23rd of January, who said there is no evidence of external pressure on NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde to open the hospital early or before it was ready to be opened.
Yeah, misleading again.
Anas Sarwar.
Presiding Officer, John Swinney is about to regret just saying that, because we know the culture of this SNP government is to avoid putting things in writing so that there is no paper trail. But all it takes is for the guard to slip once. I have here in my hand official Scottish Government meeting notes. These notes, written by a Scottish Government official, relate to a series of meetings held on the 16th of December 2019, the 19th of December 2019 and 10th January 2020. Those meetings involved a Scottish Government official appointed by the then Health Secretary, the Health Board's Director of Facilities and a consultant who had been engaged by NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde to review what went wrong. It states in its findings in black and white, political pressure was also being felt and no consideration was given to delaying the opening of the hospital despite the issues being faced with completion and operation. Political pressure was also being felt. So will John Swinney now tell Parliament why political pressure was being applied to open a hospital that this note also makes clear wasn't ready and led to people dying? Or would he rather answer in the presence of his lawyer?
First Minister.
Well, Presiding Officer, there is an inquiry underway that is exploring all of these issues, which is taking evidence in the presence of Lord Brodie. A properly constituted public inquiry that is exploring all of these issues that are at stake. And the Counsel to the Inquiry said on the 23rd of January in the summary there is no evidence of external pressure on NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde to open the hospital early or before it was ready to be opened. That's what the Counsel to the Inquiry has said, and Lord Brodie is obviously considering all of these issues.
Anas Sarwar.
He's been found out, Presiding Officer. This is a minute between a Scottish Government official appointed by the Health Secretary, the Health Board's Director of Facilities and a consultant appointed to look at what happened. And once again, this official Scottish Government minute of that meeting expressly states in black and white political pressure was being felt and no consideration was being given to delaying the opening of this hospital. That is damning. That decision to open the hospital early has resulted in a decade of lies, deceit and cover-up, bullying and gaslighting of staff, families being lied to and denied the truth, and infections that led to the deaths of children and possibly adults too, all because politics was put before patient safety. This evidence is damning. People died. So I asked John Swinney, was it worth it?
First Minister.
President, the issues that I've set on the record already is what the Counsel to the Inquiry has set out. And as Mr Sarwar knows from previous answers I've given, the Scottish Government was made aware of there being water contamination issues in the hospital was in 2018. The Scottish Government commissioned a public inquiry under the leadership of Lord Brodie, which enables all of these issues to be explored in full. And what that does is that enables the full consideration of all of these issues for the evidence to be assessed and considered and Lord Brodie to report. And that's exactly what he will do.
The safety net of social security is something that we all value. But Scotland's towering benefits bill stands at around £7 billion and is due to reach £10 billion almost by the end of the decade. I've said it before and I'll say it again, benefit spending is out of control. We know that it is unfair, unaffordable and unsustainable. Does John Swinney agree, or does he think that the SNP's benefit system is fair, affordable and sustainable?
First Minister.
I think the approach the Scottish Government takes to benefits is based on the principles of fairness and dignity, which this Parliament legislated for. Yep. I am proud to associate my government with those values that are enshrined in statute. I believe the benefits system in Scotland is sustainable, and that is demonstrated by the ability of this government to ensure effective budget planning to meet all of these commitments. And I make no apology whatsoever for being determined to protect the vulnerable in our society and to lift children out of poverty. That's what my government is all about.
Russell Finlay.
He's in a state of denial. It's not,
Thank you.
Not sustainable. Just this morning, the Scottish Fiscal Commission told the Parliament the only way to plug the benefits gap is either through higher taxes or from cutting money from public services. John Swinney can't admit it, but the SNP's benefit system is broken. And it's deeply concerning that in some cases it acts as a deterrent to work. The Government's own review of the Scottish Child Payment revealed that some parents turned down extra work or stopped working altogether, and in some cases they even told their boss that they didn't want a pay rise. And the reason? It's because extra pay would reduce their benefits, meaning they would end up with less money. We say that limiting the payment to 2 children per family is a fair way to address this.
Let us hear,
surely people
colleagues,
should be
let us hear
off,
one another. Let's hear Mr. Finlay.
People would be better off working than being on benefits. Yeah. Is John Swinney really content with a system that encourages people to turn down a pay rise?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, the Government's approach to eradicating child poverty involves a number of measures, one of which is about putting in place effective support for employability measures to enable parents to get into employment. The measures in the budget also support that by providing wraparound childcare and breakfast clubs so that we can ensure that more parents can get into employment, because I want to see more parents getting into employment so that their families can be lifted out of poverty. But what I will not do, what I am absolutely determined my government will never do, is punish the vulnerable in our society. And Russell Finlay's support for the 2-child cap is a demonstration that the nasty party is back good and proper in the Conservative Party.
Russell Finlay.
Let me read John Swinney a line from his own government's report, which he probably hasn't even read. And this is from someone who spoke to report authors, a parent. I even asked my line manager not to move me up my annual pay award band because it would have meant maybe a £30 to £40 a month addition to my salary, but it would have cost me around £300 in benefits. Yeah. Encouraging people not to work is absurd and it's harmful. Yeah, but that's not the only problem with the benefit system. The SNP politicians love to boast is light touch, which might explain the following. In the rest of the United Kingdom, an average of 8,000 people every year are prosecuted for benefits fraud. But Social Security Scotland has reported just 29 cases to prosecutors in almost 3 years. Most claimants are honest, but these numbers strongly suggest that fraudsters are exploiting the SNP's light touch system and getting away with it.
Let's hear one another.
Does John Swinney seriously think there have just been 29 cases of benefit fraud in Scotland?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government, when we established Social Security Scotland, included measures that are designed to tackle any fraud which is perpetrated within the benefit system. And the Development of all of that activity has been pursued by Social Security Scotland with appropriate reference to the Crown Office and the Procurator Fiscal Service when it is appropriate for individuals to be prosecuted. So I accept the importance of ensuring that payments are made only to those who are entitled to the payments, and fraud should be pursued where there is any evidence of fraud. But what, again, I will not do is I will not get into the gutter with Mr Finlay in attacking vulnerable people in our society. This government will ensure there is proper support to vulnerable people as part of our efforts to lift families out of poverty. That's the mission of my government.
Russell Finlay.
John Swinney can hurl all the nonsense insults that he wants. The reality is Scotland cannot afford to pay for the SNP's spiralling benefits bill. To recap, we know that the SNP's light touch system deters work and is wide open to fraud, and that they spend right now over £1 billion more in benefits than they receive in funding. Yet incredibly, Labour and Reform are OK with this. 4 months ago, Audit Scotland said that John Swinney's government has no plan to plug the benefits black hole. There's still no plan, unless John Swinney's maybe keeping it a secret from us.
You could tell us today.
Well, we do have a plan. We identify £1 billion. We do have a plan.
Let's hear Mr Finlay.
We identify £1 billion worth of savings that can be achieved through a series of reasonable proposals. These savings would be used to cut taxes for hard-working Scots who are being hammered by Labour and the SNP. Isn't cutting taxes for the lowest paid, not more benefits, the best way to lift people out of poverty?
First Minister.
President Officer, Mr Finlay comes along to First Minister's questions and he sets out his stall, which of course we've now got another chapter of that with the hostile attitude towards vulnerable people in our society, which is consistently represented by the Conservative Party. He also comes along and argues for £1 billion worth of tax cuts for individuals in Scotland without a scrap of evidence of being able to deliver any of those tax cuts, because they will undermine public services in our country.
First Minister, sorry, it would be helpful, colleagues, if we could hear one another. I have a lot of colleagues who'd like to get in today. Let's make sure we can hear one another.
And lastly, Presiding Officer, when it comes to the sustainability of the public finances, I will pay not very much attention to what Mr Finlay says to me. I'll pay more attention to what the credit ratings agencies say about my government. And what they say is that... and what...
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. If there are members who just want to come and have a good shout, perhaps they need to consider whether their behaviour is appropriate. First Minister.
So, Presiding Officer, I won't listen to what Russell Finlay says to me about the sustainability of the public finances. I will rely on what the credit ratings agencies say, which is that this government represents prudent financial management in Scotland. That's how you deliver sustainability in the public finances, and people can rely on an SNP government to do exactly that.